Fireside Chat.
Thank you. Good evening, sir. On behalf of everyone in this hall and everyone who have joined us online, I extend a very warm welcome to you to this Fireside Chat at the Bengaluru Tech Summit. In my interactions with you that I've had over the last 2 years or couple years, I've always admired your passion to make India a technology hub and exporter of technology and also talent. The Bengaluru Tech Summit has brought together technology and the techies and is a great platform to share your thoughts on India's journey into the technology world. It's indeed my pleasure to be moderating this session, and thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Jaya, for having me over, and thank you for this opportunity.
Good evening, everyone. Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar is the Union Minister of State for Electronics and IT and also for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. He has served the Indian Parliament since 2006. He is widely recognized as the most informed and active MP on digital India, technology issues, and consumer rights in cyberspace. He holds a master's degree in computer science from Illinois Institute of Technology, Chicago, and bachelor's in electronics engineering from MIT, Manipal. Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar has also had a career in the private sector with multinational companies, and we believe this has given him a 360-degree vision of industry, academia, government, and administration. A unique blend which has been a recipe for successful governance in line with our Honorable Prime Minister's vision for a better India. So we'll start with the first question.
Sure.
We are witnessing a huge transformation from why invest in India to why not invest in India, and also when do we invest in India? Can you please take us through this extremely important journey of the ICT transformation of India?
Actually, that's a brilliant way to sort of start this conversation, Jaya, because at the BTS, and if you recall, in 2022, we had the first Semicon India Summit in Bengaluru. And I remember when we were organizing that summit, and as we were leading up to organizing that summit, many people looked at us and said, but you know, Semiconductor India, why would anybody even bother about India? The places of action are Taiwan, the US, Europe, etc. And over the 3 days of that Semicon India summit, the first one ever, the conversations initially were, but why India? And you saw recently, and you were there in Gandhinagar in the 2023 summit, how people were now changing the narrative of going from why India to when are we going to do this in India and why are we not in India? And there are many underlying reasons for this, yeah, but the most important thing, in my opinion, apart from the geopolitics and all of that other stuff that people write about, is really the increasing confidence and the capabilities of the ecosystem that has developed over the last few years. And we have been, as a digital economy, Jay, as you know, an economy that had been predominantly focused on IT and ITES for many years after the Y2K. But over the last 5-7 years, I would argue that we are today present, and our digital economy and our tech economy represents almost every aspect of what is going on around the world. If it's AI, semiconductors, electronics, Web3, supercomputing, high-performance computing, electronics, microelectronics, and the consumer internet, and IT and ITS. So I think we are at a stage today where, and it is not just about government, it's about the young startups today who believe that they can design devices, IP, products, solutions and platforms for the world and for the Indian market. That confidence has never been seen before. And I always say to groupings like this and conferences like this is certainly the most exciting time ever in the history of independent India to be a techie, to be in the tech ecosystem, as you are and I am as well. So certainly that is one of the reasons I think the world is recognizing that India is a trusted, global, reliable partner.
Absolutely. I think the initiatives that we've seen from the government and the support has converted a lot of skeptics to believers. And it has just made our jobs to explain what we do to our family, friends a lot easier. So coming to the next question. The India Semiconductor mission was started just a short while back under your leadership. You have come out with a long-term strategy where semiconductors are now being designed and made in India. Where do you want to see India in the next 2 to 3 years, especially on semiconductor dependence, or must I say dominance?
Look, one of the things, and as you saw in the meeting earlier, India's story and India's engagement with semiconductors has been a series of missed opportunities. Over the last 70 years, many companies, it is amazing to even think that Fairchild Semiconductors of the legendary Gordon Moore and Bob Noyce firm wanted to come to India in the 1960s to set up the first packaging unit. And at that time, our socialist policies said, no semiconductors. And they went on to build Penang, Malaysia, which is now one of the largest packaging hubs in Asia. And similarly, again, in the mid-2010, we had Intel wanting to set up a fab in India. And again, they got thwarted by the government red tape and so on and so forth, or lack of imagination. I think we are now playing catch-up. But funnily enough, Jaya, I think in a lot of ways, we are almost jumping one generation and skipping a whole generation and looking at opportunities for the next decade, which are really brand new ab initio types of opportunities. Designing devices today for the AI world is something that there is no legacy for. So I think we have in the last 18 months, 24 months, made such tremendous progress in talent, in design, in packaging, in research. We are going to set up this India Semiconductor Research Center very soon. And I think down the road, we will even see 1 or 2 fabs coming up very quickly. So India to becoming a semiconductor nation and in turn becoming a trusted player in the global semicon ecosystem, I think is a given. It's a question of how fast we can roll it out and how soon we'll get there.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir, for the insights. I think India has a unique advantage with the vibrant talent pool that we have that many countries really lack in. So surely exciting times. Now, a question on the excitement that everyone is talking about, artificial intelligence. AI is no longer a buzzword, and now is being implemented in providing solutions by large and small enterprises. You have been a strong advocate for AI regulations in India. How are we regulating the space, and as we are moving towards an AI-enabled Bharat?
So, yeah, to me personally and for the government and our Prime Minister, AI is simply the biggest invention, most impactful invention in our recent times. To look at it as anything less than that is to not understand AI. We think AI, if harnessed correctly, can transform healthcare, can transform agriculture, can transform governance, can transform language translation and inclusion. So we are focused really on capturing AI, building the capabilities and data sets and the AI compute and training capacities to build models that will help India's quest to give better healthcare, to better education, better language translation, agriculture. And we have a program that we will launch on the 10th of January called the India AI Summit. It will be like Semicon, very much designed like the Semicon India structure, where we will focus on talent, we will focus on AI compute, we will focus on AI chips, We will focus on the models, the LLMs and the foundational models. And we are, in a nutshell, if you ask me, what is the government of India's vision for AI? We see AI as a kinetic enabler for the $1 trillion digital economy goal that we have set for ourselves as a nation. So it's a very big deal for us. However, as recent conversations around the world have shown, the world is now aligning to India's view that we need guardrails of safety and trust. So even for AI, while AI is great and the chat GPTs of the world are very fancy and are the buzzword, we need legislative guardrails that of safety and trust that will ensure that AI can never be misused or used by bad actors to cause harm.
I mean, as it has a potential to really change, bring positive changes,
Absolutely.
it also has a potential to disrupt.
Yes.
So being responsible in the use is absolutely important.
We prefer using the word safe and trusted. Responsible is still interpreted individually. What I consider responsible may not be what you consider responsible. But safety and trust have very unambiguous definitions under law.
Absolutely, yes. My next question, Bengaluru, which is your Uru and
Yes.
also mine, has emerged as the Silicon Valley of the East. Our talented engineers here have grown their capabilities and are involved in the design of complex chips. For that matter, the fastest exascale supercomputer was largely designed and tested by the engineers here in Bengaluru. How do you feel about this accomplishment and also transformation of the city, which was truly a retirement paradise, now to a technology hub?
Oh, I think it long ago stopped being a retirement paradise. I think that description of Namma Bengaluru left when I was in college or maybe just after that. But I think the fact that Bengaluru has so swiftly expanded and diversified its capabilities from ITES, building these global companies like Infosys, Wipro, to now housing the engineering and R&D center of every semicon brand or every semicon major, including AMD, Applied Materials, Lam Research, Intel, every company, including Fujitsu. And more importantly than just having a back office R&D, that engineering of the next generation of devices are happening here. As you said, exascale. I read 4 days ago that Fujitsu is doing a 2 nanometer, complete bare bones chip design in Bengaluru. So that just shows the expanse of talent and capabilities that have now become resident in Bengaluru. So while other cities may try and compete with Bengaluru, the Hyderabad-Bengaluru competition is a legendary competition, but I think it's a no competition. Bengaluru's talent base today is recognized by the world like no other city outside of Silicon Valley. And I think a lot has to do with successive governments and how we have built talent in this in Bengaluru. But sometimes as a Bengalurian, I have mixed emotions. In the morning when I meet with great brands and companies and I say, go to Bengaluru, then in the afternoon I think, should I be really telling them to go to Bengaluru because they'll make the traffic problem even worse and so on and so forth. So look, but at the heart of it, I am very, very proud of what our city has accomplished, what our Bengalurians have done, how welcoming they have been of great companies and great brands and how they've worked to make these great brands successful in Bengaluru. And that, in my opinion, should make in the coming decade Silicon Valley be named the Bengaluru of the West.
Great to hear that, sir. And I'm hoping our technology and AI will help us solve the traffic
Absolutely.
Problems as well.
Yeah. And some better human behavior.
Yeah. Moving to my next question. Many of the large and established brands we have today really started as startups a few decades ago. What is the government's vision and strategy for fostering the startup ecosystem?
This is an important economic question, as is an economic tech question. If you remember, the Indian economy, for those who remember or those who follow it, used to be heavily dominated by 5 or 6 or 7 groups. And so as they rose, the economy rose. As they fell, the economy fell. And I remember in 2010 in Parliament, presenting to Parliament an amazing statistic that 9 groups in India had cornered 97% of the banking system's net worth in terms of loans. So in a lot of ways, our economy was controlled by a few groups, large groups, diversified groups. If you look at the economy today, a large amount of the economic activity and GVA, the value added, is coming from startups. You have 102 unicorns, $65 billion of FDI that have come into startups. So therefore, startups are not just an important part of our technology vision, but also about our overall economic vision. In terms of technology, I think you have seen the Infosys of the world. Bengaluru is the home to Infosys, to Wipro. And you have seen these 102 unicorns. Many of them are from Bengaluru. Many successful, many not so successful. I think as we expand the envelope, push the envelope on technology and move to AI, move to semiconductors, move to electronics, move to Web3, move to systems, the next generation electronic systems, more and more startups will emerge that are valued and very valuable for their IP. So far it has been talent arbitrage for the IT, ITS. Then with consumer internet, it was about the scale of the market. And now we are moving into an era where true R&D, true product innovation, true IP innovation, true device innovation are going to end up creating substantial values. So you see the future design DLI startups that we are supporting today. I see in many of them the opportunity and the ability to become the unicorns of the future. So I think startups are a very important part of our social fabric, our economic fabric, and certainly the heart and soul of our digital economy and the $1 trillion digital economy goal.
Great insights. Thank you. Now, continuing a bit on the ISM journey, we are looking to create a large semiconductor talent pool in India. What is your message to students graduating from high school and wanting to take up engineering?
You know, I don't know if you know this, I don't know how many of you know this, but when I entered engineering, electronics was the most sought after. And then somewhere from in the last decade, enrollments in electronics started dipping. It is only in the last 2 years that electronics enrollments have started rising again. So first of all, I would tell students today that while coding and programming is a good option, and I'm not saying that is a bad option, please explore electronics, electronic systems design, semiconductor manufacturing, packaging, even for students who are in physics, who are in chemistry, who are in material science, that these are all huge opportunities for you. There is a real shortage of talent globally, and that if you develop the skills, study on these and get the real lab skills, that there are huge opportunities today that are available. You see the drone ecosystem today. Yeah. I mean, it is just galloping. And so there is such a big demand for electronics, real innovators in electronics, that I think for a student today to be aware that India's goal, our Prime Minister's goal, is to create about 200,000 in the next 3-4 years, masters, PhDs, postdoctoral talent. That will be talent that can be deployed in India for the Indian electronics and semiconductor and innovation ecosystem, as well as for the globe, because there is a real shortage. AMD requires engineers, Glofo requires engineers, Intel requires engineers, and they require engineers that are future ready, industry ready. So I think to the students I would say, look, this is the time, this is the most exciting time, and look at coding if you want, if you're really a programmer, that's a good opportunity, but don't ignore all of these other opportunities that are rising.
Being a chip designer myself, I want to use this opportunity to say, you know, the excitement of holding a real chip that you've designed is honestly unparalleled. And nothing against coding and software, but it's hugely exciting. So, as an industry veteran turned politician, you have personally seen a transition from private sector to public life. As a former industry leader, you're well versed with the IT sector's landscape, both in India and abroad. Could you please tell us a bit more on how your experience in the private sector has shaped your perspectives as a policymaker?
So, Jay, I certainly want to clarify to those who think that I just hopped and skipped from the private sector to politics, that I've been 18 years in politics. And I've represented my state 3 times in parliament. And I think if there is any skills that I have as a politician today, good skills, politicians also have bad skills, but if there are any good skills, it's come from learning over the last 18 years. But certainly, I think my experience in tech as an MP, as an entrepreneur, have helped me as a minister in understanding what the blind spots in government are. In a lot of cases, sometimes governments with good intention don't really think through some of the architectural issues on policies that really are important, and so there are sometimes missing holes. To that extent, I think my experience helps. But what really helps today is having an overarching political vision, which is where does India want to go? Where should young Indians succeed? What is the role of government to make more and more youngsters succeed? I think those don't require any private sector, experience. That comes from living in a time and experiencing a time and the momentum and the energy today of being the most exciting period for tech and innovation ever in the history of India. And I think that gives you a certain dynamic on its own. So I would not relate too much of what I'm doing today to what I have, but certainly I know which side of a chip is to be plugged into the socket, which some people may not. But other than that, I don't think that has any bearing on today what my capabilities are.
But for industry leaders, I think it's very refreshing to see the way you understand technology, and you can talk about technology at length, and that is something very refreshing.
So for that, Jaya, what our Prime Minister says very clearly is nothing in the tech world should be done by government without extensive consultation with those who are the masters of that domain. So we consider the industry, practitioners of technology like you and others in this audience, as to be the masters of that domain. So being patient and listening to them and incorporating their thoughts into policies and schemes is certainly a good habit, and I think that really helps in making things successful. We've done that with laws, we've done that with incentives, we've done that with other designs of other schemes, and that will always be the way we operate. And I tell my ministry many times, when you talk about mentoring youngsters, forget about the government mentoring any of the youngsters today, because they know more about tech than any government would ever know. So it's really about listening and using that listening process to adapt into policies and schemes.
I think you're doing a great job with that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This will be the last question.
Yes.
Engineering institutes across India are taking to Digital India RISC-V initiative and open source architecture to build expertise in chip design. The Government of India recently hosted a roadshow on RISC-V ecosystem. What were the key takeaways from that event?
So RISC-V for us is a way to leapfrog and get our own proprietary device ecosystem developed around RISC-V. We call it the Digital India RISC-V. And we have 2 families of devices. One is Shakti, one is Vega. And the whole idea of this is to use those cores into many, many different applications, embedded, industrial, automotive, compute, high-performance compute, and make them evolve and develop. We will see in the next 24 months at least 18 to 20 chips around DIR5 tape out and come into silicon. So into various applications, of course. So this will always be our family of devices as a way to be resilient, as a way to be protected, as a way to be independent from any technology weaponization of the future if anybody chooses to do so. So this will continue. We will continue to invest in x86, AMD family. We will continue to explore ARM. We will continue to work with NVIDIA and all of the other global platforms. But the DIR5 ISA will always be our homegrown ecosystem for our startups and labs and schools to work around.
Great. I'm sure the demand is so much. There's always space for everyone and more. So we come to the end of this session, sir. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Jaya. Thank you for hosting me. Thank you very much.
It's been an enlightening session. Thanks for your participation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would request the Honorable Minister and they kindly take your seats in front of the stage for a couple of minutes so that we'll set up the stage for the awards ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for the Honorable Union Minister of State.